Introducing the ultimate seat cover, Tiger Tough. Proudly made in the US of A, waterproof and backed by an unconditional warranty. Yes, you heard it right. 2 years on vehicles and a lifetime guarantee on heavy equipment. They have you covered for manufacturer defects, normal wear and tear, and even those oh shit moments. Tiger Tough covers are meticulously crafted for a perfect fit with over 30,000 pre-fit designs, ensuring they stay in place without any shifting or sliding. Plus, they're even machine washable. Don't settle for less. Get a seat cover today that's built to last. Order today at tigertough.com/dirt. Get a free logo embroidery on your first order if you use the code DIRTBAG at checkout. Once received, show us your new badass seat covers with your logo and tag us. Experience durability and quality with Tiger Tough seat covers. Toughness guaranteed.
All right, what's up, you dirtbags? My name is Luke Egebrotten, and we are without our co-host, Mr. Luke Payne, today. We've got a new segment running, and we've got the man, James Stiksma, filling in today. James, how we doing, man?
Doing good, Luke.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Having a couple drinks, and I was talking to Luke the other day, and obviously getting a lot of messages. People are wanting more than one episode every 2 weeks, and as you guys all know, this is Luke's busiest season is the summer. And for most people listening, this is when you guys are just crazy busy. So I was talking to Luke and I'm like, how can we put more content out without, getting you more and more busy? And so we came up with this idea of like, okay, well, maybe I could run some shorter episodes, almost like a dirtbag stories kind of thing. And then I'll just have recurring guests on. And so you just, as we were talking before this, we're having some drinks, talking about some potential names, and you came up with Dirt Tales. And I think we're going to roll with that.
Well, as a child of the 90s, everybody used to watch DuckTales, and I thought, well, maybe that'll go.
Oh man, it's stuck too. I don't even need to rethink it. So that'll be kind of the structure of these. It'll be very fun, easy going, but just getting to know the industry more and more and some of the people that we all know through Instagram, through the podcast, and just to shed some light on some stories, but also to add value in some quick hitter episodes. So we are super excited. And obviously, James, we had to have you on for the first one. For anyone listening, if you haven't listened back, we did an awesome episode with James, probably a few months back. He's
right about a year ago now.
Oh, a year ago.
Oh yeah,
damn,
time flies.
dude,
It was in August last year.
It's about time we had you on then. A year ago, and James owns Canadian Septic. You can find him on Instagram. One of the most knowledgeable guys that I know, and we had you on, and it was so cool because we talked about something that we normally never talk about or have the opportunity to. And that was almost like a mergers and acquisitions, because you entered the septic space, not because your grandfather and your dad owned a company for many years, but you actually purchased a company and you came from the sales world. So if you want to touch on that just a little bit more as a refresher of how you got into Canadian Septic and, how we got here today.
Yeah. So, basically, I would say, I guess we're going on almost 8 years now. Late 2016, started looking at switching out of the corporate sales world, commissions being cut, just feeling like it wasn't the right fit anymore. Started looking for a couple different jobs, went to some headhunters, didn't find exactly what I was looking for. Kept getting the same types of jobs offered to me. So I actually turned my attention to the idea of actually buying a business and making it my own and seeing what I could do with it. Part of my job previously was to go meet with business owners and look at different ways to create some efficiencies using technology, whether it was like mobile forms, using or selling people phones and tablets that had data, GPS tracking, all that sort of stuff. So essentially what I was looking to do was find something and be able to apply a lot of the stuff that I had learned over the years to build something for myself and our family. So that's how I got into it. So a little bit of a 180 from the corporate sales world into the dirt world. So
yeah, dude, I love it. And you just always have that eye for branding, I feel like. And so I have a lot of respect for that. You have one of the most kick-ass logos and branding packages out there. And I feel like a lot of your success with the industry specifically has come from just sharing value and education. You're somebody that I've actually learned so much about the septic field from,
Sorry.
yeah, just from watching your videos on IG, and then of course some of those reels where it's showing like the poop coming up. I mean, I feel like those take off every time.
Yeah, everybody seems to get a kick out of those ones. I don't know why, but that's all good. No, I
Yeah.
appreciate all the kind words. It's definitely one of the things that I was always interested in. Obviously, being a sales guy before, and even when I went and took some university courses, wanting to get into marketing and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
that was a big part of it. But yeah, no, it's one of the reasons I like to share as much as I do online is because I just feel like when I got into it, there wasn't enough information out there for me as someone who was completely new to the dirt world,
Yeah.
whether it's septic or anything else. It just there wasn't a lot out there for me to grasp onto, and I know that for the most part, it's getting better, but it has been sort of a an older guard that are closed off and don't necessarily want to share their trade secrets and everything else that's going on. So, being able to find some guys online that are doing it in different parts of the continent, whether it's out in Michigan, Florida, other parts of Canada, just seeing how other people are doing it, and even if some of the ways or some of the methods things are done elsewhere don't necessarily apply to the way things work out here. There's going to be other things, or about how you backfill a tank or how you do whatever it is. Um, I found it invaluable to be able to learn from other folks online and take that in, because like I said, I didn't have that background, and so everyone that I communicate with online is it's huge, because that's how I've been able to learn a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like it's always changing as well because we've been friends for a few years now, and we talk all the time of just like when new deals are coming up or new
Mm-hmm.
businesses coming in. And I think that's going to be really cool too, because you're going to be able to show those transitions as you're getting into some bigger jobs and some more complex projects to figure out. And so it's nice that you kind of talk through it on Instagram because you're
Mm-hmm.
probably also figuring it out yourself. But that's also holding you accountable to making sure that you're not cutting any corners, because somebody would easily be able to call you out.
It's definitely something that I notice around our neck of the woods. We're completely self-regulated. And so what that means is essentially nobody's coming to check our work unless
Mm,
it's maybe done by an engineer. But in BC, I can basically design a system, install it, and nobody comes to check anything that I do, which is good from a productivity standpoint, isn't necessarily the best thing from a customer standpoint, where when they send something into the health authority, nobody's checking over the paperwork, nobody's checking to see that it was done properly. So you really could have five different people show up at your house and get five different proposals for five different things, and it's a bit of a challenge, but it's one of those things that, like I said, like you said, putting ourselves out there, being accountable. I know there's plenty of guys locally that follow me, and if I was doing something wrong, I know I'd hear from them,
yeah.
or via somehow. But there's maybe three or four guys in the entire province that I'm aware of that are on here with some regularity that do know what's going on. And I know some people have tried and they ultimately end up telling on themselves. So whether they know it or not, um, it's just, yeah, it's a great way to stay accountable, putting the stuff
Yeah.
out there. And I have gotten some pointers here or there from other folks as we've gone along, and I think it's just a great way to better the industry, is treat it more like a community instead of competition, because if everybody starts doing things better, if everybody starts doing installing systems the same way we do, or if everybody's doing it the same, now we're quoting the same product, we're quoting the same install, everybody should be getting closer to the same price, instead of somebody putting it in for 10,000 versus 40.
Yeah, exactly. It elevates the entire industry and for the client's experience as well. Um, so when it comes, you said you were about 8 years in here. Super
Mhm.
curious, like which year has did you have like a hardest year that was just absolutely brutal, getting kicked in the nuts repeatedly? If so, like what year was that and why?
I'd say just sort of as we've gotten a little more work over the years, and as some of the systems have started to get a little bit older, some challenges will come up where we've had one gentleman try and bring us to small claims court over something that's not our fault at all. We've gone over
Yeah.
it 10 different times, and you deal with stuff like that. You have other people where I think a couple of weeks back we were doing some warranty work for somebody and the water
Mhm.
wasn't going down. We're going, like, can't figure it out. Bring the engineer out. Can't figure it out. It's like, okay, well, we're gonna dig a French drain around this thing and get it to your sump so that like we're good. We go dig in there and find like a layer of poly in the ground laid flat for I don't know, it was about 2 foot under the ground, but it was a sand mound, so we never came across it when we were putting it in because we never
Mm.
dug that deep. So we end up doing this repair work essentially for the customer, and it had nothing to do with us. It wasn't our fault, but
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, we're here now, we're fixing it, let's get it done, and let's just deal with it and move on to the next one. So even some of those things where you just some days it feels like you're getting kicked in the head over and over again about this thing, that thing, and it's like you don't yeah, you just got to roll with it
Yeah.
and try not to wear it too much, and yeah, move on to the next one. So
Yeah. How do you deal with and you don't have to get into specifics really, but like when somebody tries to take you to small claims court or somebody
mhm,
because it's if it hasn't happened to somebody listening, it's going to happen at some point.
yep,
And I think there are situations that are definitely worth holding your ground and pushing back, and there are definitely situations that are worth just resolving and settling right there. But curious to see your stance on that of maybe that situation or other situations on how
yep.
you typically deal with that.
I know for me, like some of the sales training and stuff that I've had over the years, and the main thing for me is try to isolate what the actual problem is. Is it somebody that's actually just trying to get it? Like, is it a cash grab? Are they just trying to
Right.
get some money off you because they know it's going to cost you money to go to the lawyer? So hey, just give me that money and then we'll leave you alone. Is it like let's isolate what the problem is. Let's clarify, make sure we understand exactly what it is, make sure there's nothing else, and then I can respond to it. So, you know, trying to say, okay, well, what's the problem? Okay, so you think the alarm going off is a problem. Well, I tend to think that means that the system works
Yeah.
because the alarm's going off. But so what's the problem? And do I think I can actually fix it or not? And so for me, in some situations, it's a matter of I don't want to have a ruling against me, even though I think I've done nothing wrong. I know I've done nothing wrong, but at the end of the day, once you go to court, who knows what's going to happen, right? And so yeah, it's about picking your battles, trying to understand exactly what it is, see if it's something you can actually help the person with or not, and then make the decision for yourself as far as what are you willing to do um, to make it go away. But then part of it too for me is also understanding is like, okay, well, what is the worst case scenario here? Instead
Right.
of playing it up and make it so big in your mind that okay, this is the end of the world, or this is it's going to shutter our doors. It's like, okay, well, it's small claims court. It's whatever the number is, $35,000. Like
Yeah.
that would suck for sure. But yeah, that's not the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the other side, like I'm also trying to kind of figure that out. You know, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, you just expect everything to go perfect and it never does. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things too where obviously I'm on the other side where I get to work with contractors and 98% of them are incredible, and
Yep.
especially our clients, they're amazing. And we have a couple situations right now where uh there's a few that owe us money that we haven't worked with in a while, and it's
Yep.
like it's a weird thing. Like I still like them, I'm still friends with them, but then they do
Hmm.
still owe us, and I'm trying to give them
Hmm.
like every chance
Every
possible.
opportunity.
I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm going to the lawyer. Like, but if you pay even a little bit, like just work with me here. I'm trying to help.
Yep.
I think it's toting that line of like, where do you stand strong because you're owed that money from, I guess, my point of view.
Yep.
And then where do you potentially write it off, which in this case isn't much of an option. And then, yeah, and then where do you actually go to court? And because nobody wants to go to court, like that sucks.
No, no, exactly. I mean, it's like you said, it's about analyzing the situation, figuring out what's going to be the best way forward. I mean, we've certainly written off invoices in the past, and
Yeah.
we've had some challenges. We've got a fairly healthy one that's still outstanding at this point, and it's if you understand that this is going to happen, and you sort of, I don't want to say budget for it, but if you understand it's going to happen, it doesn't hurt as much when it does happen, just
Yeah.
because it's coming. So figuring out what that line is for you, if it's if it's less than $5,000, like it's not worth my time chasing this. There are, when it comes to collections and stuff like that, there's companies out there that'll buy your AR from you
Yeah.
for pennies on the dollar, whatever it is. The older it is, the less they'll give you for it. But they've got different methods of collecting payment,
Yeah.
as far as
Pretty greasy.
sending collections and starting to affect people's credit scores and whatever else it is, right? But
Yeah.
that is always an option for anyone that feels like they're owed some money, and they just don't know what to do. Find one of those companies that'll buy your AR off
Yeah.
you, or any bad invoices, and they can chase it.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. Like talking with, obviously I talk with Luke all the time, and
Mm,
he gives great advice. And I, also too, I look at all of our clients and our contractors, and they're typically owed a lot more than we ever will be. And so our
sure.
problems are so small, but at the same time too, like Luke will say, he's like, you're still owed that money. Like you need to go get it. And
Yep.
so I really appreciate that type of advice where it's like, you do have to stand strong, but you do also have to clean up your communication and your contracts, I would say, on
Mhm.
my end
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
specifically of, if we're to go back on it, say, hey, it needs to be in clear writing and in clear detail, so that you at least have something to stand on. And I know you and I have talked a lot about that with building systems in your company, and the clearer you can be and the more transparent you can be, the much smoother any
Yeah.
situation will be.
Yeah, I know it's one of the things that we try and focus on when I'm putting out quotes or estimates for customers. I go down to the point where I'm saying, I'm expecting X amount of tons of sand, or X amount of feet of pipe, or
Yeah.
like I'll list it out. I don't give them prices on it. Like I give them a lump sum at the end of it, but
Yeah.
give them the details as to what's included. Give them a rundown on what the scope of work includes, and then go over what your general exclusions are. Like we will typically not include the electrical in our work at all, because one, we're not electricians. Two,
Yeah.
that's usually a can of worms. I don't know, like, is the electrical panel in the house got capacity to take whatever it is we're adding? Because having to upgrade that, or even, excuse me, the service to the house, is going to be a lot different conversation than, hey, I'm just installing a new breaker and a plug. So we usually leave that out. They usually always have an electrical friend or whomever that's going to do it, and I
Right.
don't care, whatever, that's fine. But knowing what your standard exclusions are going to be, and have those conversations with the customer. I know I've been burned on it before, and it's one of the reasons we're starting to invest in service Titan, is to get some standardization in there, so I don't forget to add something. Or if I'm
Right.
using an old estimate as a template to build another one, well, hey, I forgot that I took this out on that one. And so trying to get it standardized, get it out quicker, but keep yourself bulletproof, so that if someone wants to come back to you after the fact, you can still say, no, you signed this, we've got paper trail the whole way through. And yeah, just protect yourself.
Yeah, and we were talking about that as well earlier, but Service Titan, I mean, that's a
Mm,
beast. And if anyone's listening that uses Service Titan, shoot the Dirtbags Instagram a message, because we'd love to dive in more. But James, I
mm,
know you just started implementing that, and it's one of those things where much more expensive than most platforms, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
when you look at the big picture, I mean, it one job can cover an entire year's worth of a software like that. And I think that's the type of mindset I love, is when you're like, yeah, yes, it's more nickels and dimes, but we're also trying to focus on the big dollars here that we're going for.
Yeah, and I think anybody that gets into business needs to, or most of them understand that you need to spend money in order to make money. And I know that for some, a piece of software or something like that might be a harder sell than buying a new piece of equipment, or an attachment or whatever it is, but
Yeah.
it can do so much heavy lifting for you, and make sure that the existing equipment, everything else that you do have, stays busy. Because I know for me, one of the things that I've always struggled with is the roller coaster of business, because I'll come out on the job site and I'll try and help the guys out, especially on these bigger ones. And then what ultimately ends up happening is we have a flat spot afterwards, because I've been helping out on the install as opposed to
Yeah.
drumming up the next job or the next job
Right.
or the next job. So by having something that's like this that will make quoting easier, quicker, I can still help out some on the job site. I mean, even the job that we're about to work on, we've never done this before, but I've got an office container getting dropped off at the location. I know I'm going to be there probably a month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a hike from where we all live. It's about an hour and a half each way. So for me to just pop out to, check in and get a couple videos, photos, whatever of what's going on, and then drive back, well, that's half your day gone at
Yeah.
minimum. And then I know personally, I know myself enough to know that if I come home at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's really hard to get back into it
Oh
at
yeah.
that point. So like, no, let's just put a small office on the job site, and I can come out, do some work from there, work on some of the other quotes that we got coming up, and yeah, try and keep things as running as smoothly as possible.
Yeah. And when it comes to like building systems in your business, because I think you've done like such a great job of, and I would say, obviously, with respect, like slowly
Mhm.
building up each
Yep.
system so that it works well. And then everything will always break, but that as you scale, you need to break things and then repair them. So, with somebody listening, we talk about systems all the time on the podcast. Maybe somebody that's a couple years into business, maybe they're 300K to a million in revenue, and they don't have much for SOPs or systems. Like, what's a good way to just get started? What should they focus on? How can they make sure that things are done the way they need to be done
Mhm.
consistently each and every time?
Yeah, I would say I'm probably not the best guy to give advice on this. Like, it's still something that I struggle with as far as creating those standardized systems. Like I was talking to you earlier too. Like, one of my challenges is I'm doing a quote, and it feels like every time I do a quote, I'm reinventing how to price out a job. But
Yeah.
you get into a system that has 4 phases to it, and all these different machinations involved in the installation versus just a standard home system. Or so I've been working through Excel spreadsheets and multiple tabs, but it's like every time something changes just a little bit, like it's got an extra pump
Yeah.
chamber and pumps and panels, like okay, shoot, now I got to sort of twist this here or there and make the adjustments. But then it's real easy for something to slip your mind or miss the spreadsheet. I mean, I've had it where I've had two of the same thing on a quote because I got it on separate tabs of different pages, and I just don't realize that it's there. And likewise the other way, where I was like, I thought I put something over there, and then I took it out, and then you end up taking it out of both places. So the best thing to do is to just start documenting what you're doing, figure out how you want to do it, figure out honestly where you want to get to. So
Yeah.
if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, right? So
Mm.
figure out where you want to go, and then figure out how you're going to get there. Because if I don't know where I want to go, I can do whatever I want, and I'm going to get to the place that I didn't know I was going anyways.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things to do as you're starting out is Google Docs.
Mhm.
Everyone can get that for free. You have Google Drive, Google Docs. You jump on there and you just hit the checklist button. So it's
Yep.
literally a box, and then you write down what is step one, two, three, or you just write down just bullet points of like, this is
Yep.
what we need to do before we complete the job, or this is what we
Yep.
need to do to check to make sure that the safety measures are all checked, or whatever it might be. You just put the title at the top,
Yep.
and then you have those check boxes, because the goal with an SOP or a strategic operating procedure is that any person, any animal, a monkey could come in and just go through the checklist and make sure before they're done, everything is checked. And
Yep.
the nice thing about being on Google Docs is that it's a living, breathing document. So you can go in and change it any day of the week, any week, and anyone from your team can change it too. So if
Yep.
they notice like, hey, we went through all of our checks, but we need to add this last piece in,
Yep.
they can add it right in. So, and then the nice thing about that is you can just organize that in your Google Drive folder of like, this is how we do things in this company. And that can be for laborers, operators, office staff,
Office. Yep.
salesmen, estimators, anything. And
Totally.
it can be, it can even be done of like how we buy parts, how we stock the printer paper, like whatever it is, it can be documented. And then
Yep.
those questions don't come up ever again because it's all right there.
Well, and that's one of the things that we had talked about, I think, last time around too, is, are you building your business? Are you working in your business? Are you an employee of your business, or are you, running your business? And are
Yeah.
you trying to, what's the goal? Do you plan on selling your business at some point? Because having all those processes in place with people, whether you have the people or not, if the processes are in place, anybody can sort of follow through with that. And that's going to add value to anybody's business when they're going around to try and sell it at the end of the day. And it's the one thing that we have done well at is on the maintenance side, we use an application for wireless forms, and I've built the form in such a way that it's smart enough that it'll understand what the next question is to ask you based off of the answers that you give it. So for instance, if I go to service a system and I say, hey, this is a pressure system, it goes, oh, okay, well, then I need to ask you about the pump, and I need to ask you about a panel probably. So, but if I say, hey, we're just a gravity system, it's not going to ask me any of those questions. So it does sort of take away a lot of the guesswork as to what am I actually supposed to be doing. You just answer the questions and you do your service through the application or through this mobile form. And at the end of the day, it spits out a nice report for the customer, shows them everything they need to know. And the tech out in the field isn't being inundated with a bunch of questions that are obviously not going to need to be answered at all. So to try and streamline it for everybody, make it easier.
Which mobile form is that?
Yeah, so we're using at the moment until we get switched over, we're using an app called Fast Field, and it allows you to build out whatever forms you want. So one of the things we haven't gotten out to doing on there yet is like you can do your FLHAs. I don't know what they're all called down there versus up here, but your risk assessment, field level hazard assessment forms every morning. You can do that. You can do your checks before you start, the day on your vehicle. Anything that you have a form for, it can basically be customized through that, and it eliminates all the paperwork or any of the travel back and forth. If you wanted, you could even use it for your time clock. If you're not using a time clock app, you could just create a form that's called time card, and someone just punch in and out every time.
Gotcha. Would you recommend people using that are listening, or?
It's a great app. You definitely have to have a little bit of tech savvy to understand how to set up some of these forms, especially if you're going to put in some of that conditioning logic where it only asks questions based on what you answer. But if you want to even just turn a regular paper form that you have into just a document, I think I saw the other day when I logged in, they've added AI. Of course, everybody has. You send a PDF over of your form, and it will generate the form on your phone or your tablet so that you can fill it out. So I haven't tried it. I can't vouch for it, but if you can get somebody to set up those forms for you, it will save so much time. Honestly, the biggest one that we use is for requesting information on a septic system. So all the local health authorities, you can send in a form to get information on the whatever's in the ground on that property if they have any information. And so the old method was go back to the office, print out a piece of paper, fill it out manually, scan it, email it over to them or fax it to them, and then you'll get your report back in 2 to 4 business days. I basically turned it into a fillable PDF, and 90% of the fields are always the same. So, whether it's me or Arian, I just click James is filling this out, and then it populates like 10 of the 12 fields.
Yeah.
Or if I click Arian, then it populates those ones for him. And now I'm able to just do that and then enter in the address, and it just automatically gets emailed off to the health authority. They get a nice clean copy. It's legible. They can read it. It's not someone's chicken scratch. They got to call. and I usually get a response from them within like 1 or 2 days, and I can do it in like 10 seconds on my phone.
Right. Because
So,
a lot of that is repeatable stuff. Like you said,
yep,
when you click your name, instead of you filling out all the information,
my
when
name,
you
my
click your
phone number,
name,
my email address. Yep,
exactly, it's all the
done.
same, and it feels redundant too. Like obviously when you're doing taxes and things like that, filling out forms, you're just writing your social security and your name and your phone number so many times. But like with this, with conditional logic, it just fills all that out because it knows
Mhm.
exactly what's paired up with you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's once we get it all, everything all moved over. That's why we wanted to get into Service Titan as well, is because a lot of that information, so customer information, when the form is being generated inside the app versus having 3 or 4 different things and trying to make them talk together, like you can do it.
Right.
It would take someone smarter than me to do it. But when it's all coming from the same app, I can start a new work order and it automatically populates the customer's name because I opened up a work order from that customer's profile versus
Gotcha.
having to fill it out every time. So I can shave an extra 5 to 10 minutes off of a service call because that information populates versus that person having to go dig it all out and find out where what they have to all fill out.
Right. And you're saying 5 to 10 minutes, but then you multiply that by
Yep.
5 days in a week, and then obviously 52 weeks in a year, and then
And
8 years
however many
in.
visits a day and whatever else.
Yeah.
Like it's not nothing. And especially when you start getting into overtime hours, if guys are working longer hours, it's not just your regular hourly now. Now you're talking time and a half or whatever it is. Plus, this way the customers are getting their reports quicker instead of getting one
Yeah.
like a week after the fact, like they're getting the same day.
Right. Do you think Service Titan will help you get more estimates out quicker or on time when they come in, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean that's the goal. I mean, realistically, one of the challenges I've always had was, I'm doing all my job costing in a spreadsheet. I'm entering in all the information, then I'm rewriting it into Word and putting it into that format, and then I can save that as a PDF, then add a signature, add all these
Yeah.
extra files and everything. So yes, it's going to be able to get stuff off quicker. It's up to me to make sure that I set these procedures and then actually follow them, because it's great to have a plan, but if you don't actually follow the plan, it's
Yeah.
not worth the paper it's written on. So yeah, that's a big one for me. That's why I was willing to invest the $1,000 plus whatever it is per month to have this software, um, to make that easier, to make it easier for techs in the field to be able to provide an estimate on the spot, as opposed to, okay, well, I'll get back to you, and then Arian and I will go over it, check it, and then write an estimate. Maybe that comes to the customer 2 3 days later,
Yeah.
and to try and be more efficient with it, less touch points, and still get the same high quality work out of Canadian Septic. So
Hell yeah, dude.
yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, I love it, man.
Yeah.
Dude, so I was gonna tell you the last couple years been doing a lot of research, been
Mhm.
doing a lot of testing and everything. As you know, we have our new Skitty scented air freshener,
Yeah.
and then we recently, a few months ago, came out with our forestry mulching scented air freshener.
Yeah.
Years of research,
Oh,
like hu-
tireless.
hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I am for the first time excited to introduce to you our new septic tank.
Oh.
Dude,
Oh
haven't
yeah.
even cracked it open yet. Just came in the mail. We've got I used a picture from Anderson Septic,
Love it.
so toss that in there. We got the
Love
dirt
it.
bags on the other side, but
That's amazing.
we got
At least it's a
1,000.
new septic tank, not a previously enjoyed
No,
septic tank.
yeah. So I was
New.
saying that yeah, I couldn't find the scent for like a used septic tank, so I'm
No?
like, well, we're gonna go with new. And yeah, I'll have some coming your way here shortly, so
Oh,
you can
sick.
do the official sniff test.
That'll be amazing. Yes, it's better than the other sniff test of the used previously
Yeah,
enjoyed one. we'll,
exactly.
we'll
So
dip them in there and let you know what it smells like.
there we go. And then we'll come up with that new scent. But yeah, dude, super excited for those. I'll get some of those your way here. And then one other thing I wanted to bring up before we wrap up is the wet show. So
Yes.
you've been there. You went
Mhm.
last year, right?
I've been 3 times. Last year I went as well. We try to do it on like a 2 year cycle. but we'll see. We'll might be able to make our way out again this year. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Sweet, because I'll be out there for my first time this year, so I'm super excited. Hopefully, getting a lot of the Septic guys together,
Awesome.
and I think Indianapolis is where
Mm-hmm.
it's at. So I've never been to the city, but
Yeah.
it sounds like a pretty impressive show as far as where the industry is going, the innovation, but also
Mm-hmm.
just like bringing people together from all over the continent.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I know I've met up with a bunch of people there over the years. I've made some good friends going over to that one. They have a fantastic education program if someone's interested in going. I at this point, having gone 3 times, that's the primary reason I go. The trade show floor is not usually a ton of new stuff. There's always some things, but for the most part, it's FaceTime for the suppliers that are out there. But the education package, which I'm a huge believer in, we've as someone who is certified, I have to get a certain amount of continuing education every year, but my guys don't need it, but I want to make sure that they're getting something as well. I think they'll probably end up going to our show in BC this year, but I took both of them out there last year, met up with a few different guys, couple past guests as well, and yeah, no, it's a good time. It's not the nicest time of year to go. It is February. I think it's the week before NFL Combine usually happens out there,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's a good time. It's you make a lot of good friends, a lot of good relationships, and we've come home with a couple different toys over the years from that show.
yeah. I'm trying to get Mr. Doug Castles to come out there as well with us. So
Yeah, he was
should,
there last year. I
yeah,
did see him there last year, so he
yeah.
was messaging me the other day too. So
Should be fun. And I am doing a session. It's yeah, building your online presence in the wastewater industry. So kind of revamped my educational session on that. And the cool thing is like you mentioned, is you do get continuing education credits for it. So if you want to come hang out and listen to me talk at the wet show,
shoot
come
the
on out.
shit.
Shoot the shit, talk shit. Should be fun. So yeah, man. And then yeah, just as far as like next steps in your business, what do you got coming down the pipeline? Like, what are you excited for this next year, the next few years? Like anything new and exciting coming, or what does Canadian Septic look like in the next few years?
Yeah, I'd like to keep getting into some of these bigger projects. We've got a couple other ones that we've got some bids that are going to be going out for in the next month or two here. So I'd like to get into that some more. I really want to hone in on our maintenance and repair business because again, with a mind to eventually selling the business at some point, whether it's to one of the kids or to someone else, having that recurring business that's potentially under contract or not, that's a lot more appealing to somebody who's looking to get into a business, whether it's someone else that wants to buy it or whether it's one of these larger firms that wants to scoop you up, like having all that stuff ready to go. That's what we're trying to work towards. And yeah, I mean, at some point, maybe once we're done paying off the smaller machines, we might start looking at something a little bit bigger to get
Mm.
into some of the bigger jobs. Right now, we've always just contracted out the bigger earthworks. The first 5-6 years in business, we didn't own excavators. We didn't rent excavators. We basically subbed it out,
That's
and you're
crazy.
basically hiring an extra employee and the equipment, and I don't got to worry about it in the winter, even though it's not that bad over on this side of the country here. We're pretty much the same weather as Seattle, so we can
Right.
almost work year around. We don't really get freezing, save for maybe 5 to 10 days out of the year. So
Mm.
um, yeah, that's where we're trying to go. I know my oldest is going to be graduating this next school year, so we'll see if there's any interest there. And then there'll be another one 2 years after that, and another one 2 years after that. So we'll see what happens, see if any of them want to be involved or not. I'm certainly not going to push it on them. But yeah, it's something that's definitely back of the mind for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think always having that legacy or that contingency plan or just always succession plan is probably a better
Mhm.
way to say it. Of just, yeah, I mean, just continue building this business so it's more appealing to whoever might buy it or inherit it. Because regardless, the equation is still the same. You still need
Yep.
a business with solid operations, with a good book of business, with
Yep.
something that is going like this, not the other
Yep.
way. Uh, and also, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and we are talking about mergers and acquisitions, and they said something that I hadn't heard yet, but they said, build a business you wouldn't want to sell.
Right.
And the reasoning for that is build a business that's doing that you love, that you're doing so well in that it doesn't make sense for you to sell. But then that is the perfect time where that person will come in and give you the multiple that makes absolute sense. Or you can give that to, or you can sell it to one of your children where they get to then inherit that. And so I thought that was an interesting way of looking at it, of, building a business you like wouldn't want to sell, because then that's usually the perfect time to sell.
100%. I mean, if you can get it to a point where you don't actually have to be involved in the day to day, then you don't have to sell, and it's still generating money for you. But so
Yeah.
these are the long term goals to hopefully get to at some point. And it's the one thing I've said to some people before. You're building these businesses, you're reinvesting back into it. You're not necessarily saving, putting tons of money into RSPs or savings accounts or 401ks, because your business is
That's
essentially
the
going to be
asset.
your retirement fund that you're going to sell
Yeah.
at the end of the day when you finally do want to hang it up. So
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's a super important note there too, because that can be at any time. And that can be when you're 65 or when you're 75 or 85. And especially
yep,
if you love operating or you love the office work, like there's no timeline as a business owner of when you have to hang it up. And for some people, they might want to hang it up early and do something else, or maybe just switch gears. So just setting yourself up for success is so important. But no, it's awesome to see too, especially if one of your kids does take interest. It'd be really cool to see how you kind of take them under your wing and like show
yeah,
them the ropes of the business.
yeah, no, exactly. But I just can't give them the login to Instagram or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely
We'll have
not.
to work them in slowly,
You got
slowly.
to keep that rolling.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, good stuff, man. Well, James, I appreciate it, man. This has been awesome. Luke, we miss you. We'll see you on the next episode, but I think this is a great first episode of Dirt Tales. Let's go.